Hey guys, it's Ashton, and today is World Mental Health Awareness Day. In honour of this day, I thought I'd share with you my journey through depression and how transitioning didn't cure my depression. My journey goes back to when I was about 14, when I was in Key Stage 3 of secondary school. I got bullied a little bit, so just by some people in my phone, just being kids. So that was a combination of how I felt about myself, that I didn't quite know I was trans yet, and all of that just rolled into one, and I started to feel depressed. When I look back, that is clearly the first feelings of depression I actually had, and nothing really came of that. That all happened. I had the summer holidays before I started year 10, and then it kind of like went away, I suppose. I realised I was trans towards the end of year 9 in school, so when I was 14, figuring this out kind of stopped that depression. I was like, you're right, I know what I need to do. I know I need to cut my hair, I need to transition, and that gave me something to focus on. So I could focus on bettering myself, and then I wasn't thinking these thoughts. So time started to get on, so I got to Christmas, I was completely fine, so I'd cut my hair by then, came up to my parents, and then after Christmas was when things started to dip. So I just turned 15 in the January, and towards the February and the March was when I started falling back into that pit of depression. A lot of it was to do with the fact that I wasn't out as trans at school and everybody, and just close family and friends. And my parents were in denial at this point, and they were for about 6 months. So I held all my feelings in, and I suppose that's what you do. By this time, I'd started to self-harm too. So this gradually went on throughout when I was in year 10, and by about June time, I was completely depressed. I was self-harming like every other day, and my life was pretty much a mess. I honestly didn't want to live anymore, and I made a video that I never posted anyway, of me just literally just crying, being like, I'm done, I can't do this. But my friends kind of saw what was going on with me, and it was harder to hide the self-harm because like I wouldn't do it on my wrists and stuff, it'd be easy to cover up, and I just got to the point where I just didn't care. So my friends told my head of year in school, and then it all blew up from there. So then my parents found out, and yeah. I was put on the waiting list for CAMS, mainly to do with transitioning, but I didn't have an appointment there for a year anyway, so that was completely a waste of time. So I had the summer just before I started year 11, and it was decided that was it. I was coming out to everybody. All my family was told. My parents finally realised that this was something I was doing regardless, and they could see that keeping this all internal was destroying me. And yeah, so I came out to everybody, and honestly things got a lot better. So I started back to school, and the self-harm cut down quite a lot. I still have hiccups here and there, and that gradually went on. I wasn't in as bad of a place because I was living as Ashton, and a lot of those feelings went then. But I kind of still had all this dysphoria within myself about like not being on T, not having top surgery, being nowhere near in my medical transition. My major depression started at the end of 2014 when I started college. I am really bad for change. I am so bad with change, honestly. Like, I loved my school and they were so supportive, and going to this completely new place with completely new people who just didn't care about me really threw me, and I went back in depression. I relapsed into self-harm, which was like the one time. I was just really struggling. After that relapse of self-harm didn't do anything for me anymore. Like I did it and I felt nothing. Usually I used to feel like this relief, and I felt nothing this time, and I thought, this isn't my coping mechanism anymore. This isn't making me feel better. So I haven't self-harmed since that day because it's just gone. Like, didn't make me feel better. So I didn't know how to deal with all these depressing thoughts. So I started seeing cams, and this lady I was seeing just wasn't doing it for me. She focused more on my anxiety than my depression. We did CBT and it was a waste of time, and I just discharged myself from therapy. I needed to sort myself out. So after the Christmas, I just got my head down and I just focused on my exams. And I had wasted so much of the year being depressed, not taking anything in during my A-levels. So I had a lot of work to make up, and I surprisingly passed my exams. And after that I decided, right, I'm going to smash my last year of A-levels, I need to do this. So I was doing my A-levels, I was still seeing cabs, I'd see a psychiatrist now and then who was absolutely amazing. She actually acknowledged my depression. So that was the end of that kind of breakdown, and the next major one was last year. So in 2016, I was moving to Aberystwyth University, and like I said, change is just not my thing. I went there and I just suddenly felt so different. I moved back home, and as well as being depressed, I just had this massive load of anxiety about death, and not about my death, but about other people dying, like my family, like especially like my dad and like those close to me, because that was something to do with the fact that my BAMP, who I was very, very close with, died the year before I went to university, and then my other BAMP died when I came back, and we wasn't close at all, the most recent one. So that didn't really hit me, but I think that was kind of like a trigger on the whole death thing, and pretty much every minute of every day, all I could think about was death. So I became completely withdrawn. I just stay in my bedroom. Around Christmas time, I just completely broke down. Like, I cried on Christmas Day in my bedroom just because of all these feelings, and I didn't know how to cope with them. So I forgot to mention that once I turned 18, I could no longer be with CAMS, and I had to transfer to adult services, and I had one appointment there and discharged myself because I hated it. Like, when I was waiting in the waiting room, there was a man stroking a tree, and I thought, I am not that bad. When I did discharge myself, I had a letter saying I could self-refer to the service within 3 years. So I don't know how I ended up doing this, but I thought, you know what, I need help. And this was before I got extremely bad. So I rang this number on the letter and was like, can I re-refer myself to the service? And then I spoke to this guy about how I was feeling. So I went in for an assessment, and it was just a waste of time, really. They didn't want me, even though when I discharged myself, they was literally begging me to stay. But I had a phone call saying the primary mental health team were willing to see me. So I had an assessment with this woman, and she was so lovely. She referred me back to the psych and adult service who I'd met before, and also put me on the waiting list for some counselling. When I first started feeling depressed, like when I was in year 10, I wanted antidepressants so badly. Like, that was my last option. But then as time went on, I was one of these people who were like, I am not having antidepressants, I'm not putting these in my body. I was so afraid of the side effects, like especially like the weight gain, and I just didn't want to have to rely on this medication. So I thought, you know what, I spoke to this woman from primary mental health services, and I just thought, you know what, I just think I should go on medication for a bit, because I don't think I could feel much worse than this. So that's when I went to the psych, and then she prescribed me antidepressants, which was fluoxetine, which is what they start everybody off on. So I started taking those, and I did generally feel a lot better. The tablets didn't make me happy, but they were allowing me to function, and that is what I needed at the time. I needed to be able to do my work for uni. I needed to be able to get out of bed. At that assessment, I also found out that I was suffering from seasonal affective disorder. For those of you who don't know what seasonal affective disorder is, when the seasons change, so like when it gets darker and colder, like the winter months, I get depressed more, and it's like a proven thing. And ironically enough, the acronym for seasonal affective disorder is SAD. The sun generally just like heals me. I love the sun. Like, I don't like going out in it, but just it being sunny, it just helps me so much. So I was going to counselling, and I went a few times, and I was going with it, but the one day I slept late for my appointment, so I didn't go, and then they discharged me, so whoops, my bad. So I think that was like, right, okay, I don't really need it anyway, because they were only offering me for 6 weeks, and I was still having these massive thoughts about death. So again, I pretty much sorted myself out. I stayed on the antidepressants from about February till May. I started coming off them after I finished my exams. Gradually came off then, and I felt a lot better, because it was summer too, and then I booked top surgery, and I was like, right, you know what, let's do it. And yeah, so that is where I'm at pretty much now. It's starting to get darker and stuff now, and I am starting to feel her a bit. So I bought myself a sad lamp, just to, you know, give her a go. So this is just a little bit of proof that transitioning doesn't cure your mental illnesses, because I still suffer from depression and anxiety from time to time, but it's severely helped, honestly. Like, transitioning saved my life, but I still had some other issues going on that I blamed on transitioning, but it wasn't actually, so yeah. So you've got to deal with it all anyway. At some point, they're all going to come up. So that was pretty much my experience of depression, and I hope that was insightful for a lot of you who think that you just transition and everything's all la-di-da and life is great. And life is great, but you do have a little bit of hiccups, and I seem to have a little bit of a breakdown every year. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay safe, take your meds, and be happy. I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.